A good day to one and all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back to yet another episode of Sometimes the Old Man is Right. As always, I am your host, Lamont Ferguson, playing the role of the old man. I'm the old man at home, back at the home office in the LBC, so I'm happy to be home, happy to be off the ship. And this is a special episode. It is episode number 22. Now, look, I got to be honest with you. I had already recorded this episode earlier on the ship. I think around Saturday, I had recorded this episode. Then I got off the ship, and there was a whole bunch of nonsense that took place that got me fired up that I thought, well, it'd have been nice to have included this into the episode. So I decided I'm just going to wait. And I will just redo the episode. Listen to the one I recorded. If I have to put in clips to capture the moment of what was going on, then I will. And this will just be one giant special episode because, well, it's episode 22. And I decided why not release it on 2/22/2022. I'm even going to be a little more crazy. I'm going to release it at 2:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. How about that? That's what I'll do. And I know it's on the Tuesday because I keep seeing the things where on the media they're like, oh, it's Tuesday, 2/22/22. And I'm like, that's not the same thing. Just because it sounds the same, it's not the twos. Yeah, 2 of Tuesday sounds like it. And then they change the spelling to TWO, Tuesday. Great. Good luck. We got a nation full of idiots as it is. Have you seen social media? No one can spell. I've already gone over this. Remember this in episode 2 or 3 where no one understands the homophones or the homonyms or anything else like that. And then the news media wants to be clever and say, hey, look, it's Tuesday of 2/20. Yeah, we get it. But it's not the same, dummies. So this is the big episode. Episode 22, 2/22/22. How about that? I'm all about the marketing and the bass. No treble. What? I don't know. Shout out to what's her name? What's her name? Megan something? Again, a reference that I don't remember what it is. I have a little problem with my memory of late. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need more water. I don't know if that's the remedy for your memory, but I keep losing words that I should be able to grasp. See that? Even the moment there, I was looking for the word grasp, and I couldn't grasp. There was a beat that took place. Anyway, how you doing? How you been? Hope your week plus was good. What's the good word? I am well. Thanks for asking. As I said, I am happy to be off of the ship. The week was fine. In retrospect, it's always fine once you survive. So the shows is really what I'm there for. And those were great. I had a show on Valentine's Day in the theater, and then 2 shows the very next night in the lounge. And then I was done for the week. That's good work if you can get it. Work 3 shows and then be just cruising the remaining 4 days. That's all I did. So it's hard to complain about it when that's your workload. But there are things to complain about here and there. You guys know or may not know my weariness of Princess Cruise Lines. It's just different. All the lines are different. And Princess is the most different of the ones that I work. So you got to get mentally prepared to go work on Princess Cruise Line. And like I said, the audiences are great. It's all the stuff around it that is and can be annoying. Travel in general is annoying. That was one of the things that took place after I had recorded the podcast, was as walking through the airport on my way to get to my gate, I just witnessed so many travel wearies and travel stress. Travel is hella stressful, and there's no reason for it to be this stressful. it should be a good time. It's a, hey, I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere from the familiar surroundings of where I live to a new place or a place I've been to before that I want to go to, something that has excitement. And that travel to get there is the most stressful part of anyone's life. And it makes no sense. I saw two couples fighting over travel. One lady had left her phone in the rental car, which I'm going to be honest. You go over a checklist. What the hell are you doing that you left your phone? It should be, I go over checklists every time I get ready to leave. And it's not about, oh, did I remember to pack this or pack that? You prioritize the top three things. The top three things for me are my wallet, which has ID and access to my money in it, my phone, and my passport. Those are the three things, because I know with those three things, whatever I have forgotten to pack, I can replace, as long as I have those three things. Without any of those three things, there's a high probability that one, I can't travel, or two, if I get to where it is I'm going to get to, I can't replace whatever I've forgotten. So those are the three main things: phone, wallet, passport. I always make sure I have those things before I take a step to go wherever it is that I'm about to go when I'm getting ready to travel somewhere. So the idea that this woman got out of the rental car and left her phone underneath the seat, because I pay attention. That's another thing. I'm going to crowbar this in real quick. Whenever I go places, I pay attention to my surroundings like a CIA operative. I am the Jason Bourne of travelers. And many of you people out there, if you only did half as much, you could relieve the stress of others and yourself just by paying attention. It just is paying attention to all of your surroundings. People are like, oh, I didn't see that guy come out of there. I didn't know that. Like, really? You didn't know? Pay attention. What are you so involved in? What are you so involved in your head that you can't pay attention? So I'm paying attention because the lady's standing right in front of me and speaking at rock level decibels. So she has forgotten her phone under the seat in the rental car. Her husband, this poor fella, he's trying to do whatever he can to make sure that the DEFCON level is low. Meanwhile, she's continually raising the DEFCON level with stress for no reason. He's at the kiosk trying to do the luggage tag thing. And here's another thing. Like I said, there's many things that took place on the travel that got me worked up. All right, we get it, businesses. You're passing the non-savings on to the consumers. What you're in essence doing is passing the workload on to the consumers and not helping with any savings at all. So we go to the airport, and then we got to go to a kiosk where we used to stand in line and talk to an actual person. But now we're at the kiosk and we're putting in the information to get the luggage tags that then we have to apply to our own bags that we are paying for. We're paying for the bags because you told us a decade ago that you needed that money for fuel costs. Oh, okay. All right. You see how dumb this thing is? And none of the savings ever come back. They just hope people forget about it, and then they just get used to it. But they've got an employee that just wanders around the kiosk. That employee helps at times, and other times, because I, like many of you, are frequent travelers, so we already get it and we know how to do this thing. The other times, they're just crowbarring themselves into the situation where nobody needed their assistance. I got up to the kiosk. I'm trying to decide, how am I going to do the initial login thing? Am I going to use my frequent flyer number? Am I going to use my passport? Am I going to use a credit card? All three of those things work, but you got to decide which one is the most convenient for you to be able to use at that moment. I decided to use my frequent flyer number, but I also had my passport out because I was going to go passport first. All right, there's a lot of decisions that took place. When I realized I don't need my passport, I'm starting to put my passport back into the passport holder. Not once am I looking to anyone saying I need some assistance at all. But the employee comes and peers at the screen, realizes that, well, everything is going well here, but I have to justify my existence for being here. And then she goes, oh, no, don't take the passport out and use it until the screen asks you to. I'm like, lady, I'm just waiting for the screen to load because I already hit next. I'm waiting for it to. Me and the passport have nothing to do with the screen. I'm putting it back into the thing. But she could have seen that. She could have seen that, oh, he's not taking his passport out. But no, I've got to inject myself into this situation to justify the fact that I'm out here wandering around with people at the kiosk. So they're always trying to do that. They're always trying to justify their existence because corporate took their job away. If I look like I need help, then we'll come on over and get some help. That's the problem, is when anyone looks like they need help, they look around, they can't find anybody. So let's get back. The husband of the wife is trying to do that at the kiosk. Nothing is going right. It won't give him a bag tag. It gets stuck at some point in time. He can't find anybody to help him. Finally, someone does come over, but the lady who was supposed to be helping, she is now upset the woman who left her phone. So she just keeps screaming that I left my phone in the rental car, which has nothing to do with the American Airlines employee. But she's already ramped up. She's out of control because, travel is stressful. So the guy's trying to keep it down. She's trying to ramp it up. The employees are not helping. The kiosk is not doing what the kiosk is supposed to be doing. And it's just a nightmare. And like I said, travel is hella stressful to begin with. And it doesn't seem like anyone who is in the travel industry understands this, that their job is to, I said this before, red or blue wire. The bomb is going to explode. Clip the red or the blue wire to make this bomb not explode, to stop the countdown. It doesn't seem like anyone in the travel industry from the top down is aware that there are just bombs going there at the airport. Now, good thing I didn't do this at the airport because you really can't be making that type of analogy that there are bombs at the airport. But this is what you guys understand what I'm talking about in case any airline people are listening. I'm saying that when people get to the airport, they're already wound up. And the opportunity for them to go off on an employee because an employee said something dumb, like don't use your passport when your passport is not being used, something like that. If I was stressed, I could understand me snapping back at them. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm referring to. So nobody can help this couple. And the thing I found, I sided with the guy. Of course, I'm a guy. I sided with the guy because he was very calm. And the woman his wife was not calm. And the more calm that he kept trying to say, hey, I'm trying to keep things calm, it seemed to be that the more annoyed she got. Now, this may be a man-woman thing. I just don't get that part. He really is trying to calm her down, or at least be one of the equation that is calm. And she seems to be like, I need you to be as fired up as I am. She's busy using profanity out loud. He's busy trying to say, hey, calm down. We don't need all this cussing going on. And she doesn't seem to care. And the thing about it is they're trying to make their flight to get to Philadelphia. I found out later, because, paying attention like a CIA operative, the flight was at 2 p.m. You know what time this was? 11:30. Calm the fuck down. 11:30. Calm the fuck down. You'll make it. You'll be fine. There was no reason for all this extraness to take place. They found an employee that took care of them, I'm sure, and I'm sure they made it in plenty of time for their flight. Heck, they could have even gone back and gotten her phone. Like I said, travel is stressful to begin with. I saw another couple, they were one gate away, and then they had an argument about making it to that gate. Nothing helps. The airports are too big. This was the Miami airport. I saw people running constantly. Can we stop with the airports that are so big? Figure out a way to not make people have to be constantly stressed and running to get to their flights. Like I said, there's no reason to have that going on. I got off my plane and had to get to the next connection of the flight. I felt like I'd have been better off booking another flight from my flight that just landed at a closer gate than it was for me to walk to wherever that gate was. Like I felt like I was walking to the destination. It was so much space in there. So can we listen up, airline and airport people? Can I don't know how much more I can stress. It is hella stressful. Figure out a way to relieve the stress of people that are paying your salaries, of people that are make it so it's possible for you to exist. You making it so stressful is ridiculous. Even after getting off of the ship, I got to the airport. They gave me a shuttle bus to the airport because where the ship is in Fort Lauderdale, which also has an airport. But for some reason, Princess flew me into Miami, which is the next big city over, which is about a 25, 30-minute trip from that particular airport. And then when I got off the bus, I get into the terminal, and it dawns on me that I've got to walk to the other end of an airport terminal. Or maybe not even that terminal, maybe in a different and there's no train. They don't have like, oh, we're going to put a train that takes you from one to the other. You know, like other airports have that. Denver has that. They got a train that goes from one side to the other. Like many of them have train. Not this one. No. Dallas has a train that'll take you from one to the other. Not Miami. Miami, you're walking. You are walking. And I felt like they were put the airlines alphabetically. So I had to get to American, and I got the bus let me off at Zunesia airplane. Like, that's not a real thing, but you get what I'm saying. I had to walk all the way to A from Z. And that was a good 20-minute walk. But I wasn't stressed because of the fact that I was super early and I was going home. That's the other thing. Like that woman that was all fired up and mad at her husband because she actually used the phrase, "You're stressing me out." That dude was doing nothing but trying to keep things calm. And she said, "You're stressing me out." He's stressing you out? No, this was a choice you made, lady. You made a choice to be cursing out loud in the airport because you forgot your cell phone because of whatever was going on in your head at the time that you couldn't prioritize the checklist of what is important that I make sure that I do have out of this car. Yeah, she said he was stressing her out. But yeah, it's a walk, like a 15, 20-minute walk to get from Z all the way up to A. But like I said, I didn't really carry a lot of stress because I knew I was going home. That was my point, is that all these people that are carrying all this amount of stress, a lot of it is unnecessary. A lot of it is put on, by the configuration of the airport and the airlines maybe putting you so close to a flight to where you're going to have to rush to get to the flight. But everyone needs to keep in mind that at the end of this, they are going to get to wherever it is that they go. You're not going to find somebody that goes, you know what? I've been at this airport for 17 years. I keep trying to get my flight and I just can't. I can't get home. I can't get to where it is. I've just been trapped. That doesn't happen. You will get to where it is you're going. It is stressful in your mind to be able to make sure that it's going to happen, but I guarantee it's going to happen. So that can help. That can be our part of helping relieve the stress, is that we're not going to be trapped. You're not going to live at the airport. It'll all work out. Maybe not exactly as you had it planned, but it will all work out. And that's why I carried no stress, is because I knew at the end I was going home. There wasn't going to be a point where I had to live at the Miami airport. It wasn't going to be Tom Hanks in the terminal, for crying out loud. It all works out. Take a deep breath. We can all get through this. All right, so those were some of the fired up points that took place after the ship that I decided, hey, I got to make sure I get this in on this episode. As I said, the trip on Princess was fine. It was all right. I made it through. I'm going to play you a little bit of a clip that I was recording while I was in my cabin so that you can understand what was going on. I made it a shorter episode. It was about 20 some odd minutes, about kind of where we are right now in the time on the thing, because I didn't like the acoustics on the ship and the cabin are bad. There's a little hum that takes place because, the rooms are weird. And where I was at in my cabin on Princess is not ideal. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I don't say things and try to badmouth things on, but yeah, it's crappy. It's a quote unquote officer's cabin, but it is horrible. It is horrible. The thing I enjoy the most about Holland and Celebrity is they do put you in guest cabins, and on Princess they do not. And my cabin was right towards the front of the ship. My cabin was in, I wish I'd have recorded this, every port where we'd stop and then where we'd leave, I get to hear the sounds of the anchors coming out of the ship, or the ropes that get tied onto the port, to the dock. I get to hear that, and it takes a long time. It's a good process that takes place, and I'm right next to that. So it is not pleasant. But I'm going to play you what was going on in my room right now, at the when I was recording on the ship. This will not be a long podcast. One, because I'm on a ship. I think most of the podcasts have been recorded on a ship, for crying out loud. Maybe in the early days they weren't, but now they seem to be. And there's a lot of ambient noise. There's like a weird hum. The acoustics here are crazy. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but there's a woman next door that just started singing opera, because this is where they put the guest entertainers. I don't know if you could hear that, but she's serenading me. This episode of Sometimes the Old Man is Right has a nice little background track. So that is what was going on while I was recording on the ship. They put all the guest entertainers in this little area, this holding hull part of the ship. And I had the opera singer next to me that was practicing while I was doing the podcast. Well, she was practicing. It's not like either one of us knew what each one was doing. So it just happened to coincide. But that's a lot of the stuff that takes place there on the ship. And that's what happens when you're in, like I said, a weird area. The Princess puts you in a weird cargo type of area on the ship. As I said, the Caribbean Princess, or I say Caribbean. That was the name of the ship, was Caribbean Princess. Although I don't know if people pronounce it as Caribbean. I've heard that, and I can't get behind that. I like Caribbean. Caribbean sounds fancier. Caribbean sounds like you're from Alabama and you don't get out much. I mean, no offense to people who are from Alabama or people that don't get out much, but in that particular situation, in my mind, you're both in the same part of the concentric circle. So that was my time on The Princess. Was spent a couple of shows working, other times playing a little bit of basketball. The basketball court there was a little weird. And then, other than that, continuing my venture into the rabbit hole that is pickleball. I think I'm all in, people. I think I'm all in on the pickleball because there's people playing. When I go up for basketball, because of the demographics of the ship, no one's going to be playing basketball. Even if they are, it's just a guy out there trying to shoot, and you can tell he's not picked up a basketball in years. But there's no real competitive play that goes on. Pickleball, there's competitive play. There are people, obviously, that know this game, considering the fact that I just learned that this game exists 5 years ago. But there was a gentleman on there, 79 years old, Stuart, out of South Carolina. Shout out to you, Stuart. Good man, good people. That dude, he's really good. He's probably the best player I've ever seen playing pickleball. And I've seen some ones that were really good. This dude was better than them. And he said he's been playing for 17 years. And talking about all the little areas that he's got in his time, he showed me there's an app. There's a pickleball app. Man, this world is crazy. This is almost as crazy as when I found out that there was a sign spinner world. I don't know if you were aware of that, but there's a sign spinner world. You know those people you see out on the corners with the signs and they're spinning them around and doing stuff? I did some work for Time Warner Cable as a man on the street interview one time. And I found out that that's another world, that there's world championships of sign spinning. So I'm not that surprised that this pickleball culture exists without anybody knowing about it. But so he's been playing for 17 years, and he showed me on the app there's an app that'll tell you wherever you are, there are all the pickleball opportunities that are available in your area. So this was, as I went up to watch the first time, and then I went up and played a couple of days after that. So it was fun. The court was weird because, when it comes to outside activities, when cruise ships were first being done, they just thought, we'll give people pools and we'll go ahead and throw in an outdoor court for folks. But a lot of times it seems like it was a last second thought. And that's what this court was on this particular ship. Because the basketball court was okay, but then it's all netted in, so the ball doesn't go into the sea. But then they also made it into a pickleball court. But the space is very limited. The best way I could describe this to you is to say the baseline of the pickleball court was right next to the net. There is no space to stand behind the baseline. If you want to stand, your foot will be crossing the baseline and most of your feet will be inside the court, and the other is up against the net. So the thing that made this Stewart guy so amazing was that he knew how to deep serve with amazing regularity and consistency. So any ball that would either hit the baseline or hit right in front of the baseline, that was going to be a point. Because there's no way you could get your arm and paddle. I'm not sure if it's a paddle or a racket. I'm going to say it's a paddle. Get your paddle back without hitting the net. So it's impossible to return it. So yeah, he won every game he played. You play doubles. That's what makes it a nice little social aspect, because there's a lot of just chatting and talking and stuff that goes on in between while you're waiting for the doubles that are out there to play. And it's nice. Like I said, it's fun. It is a point where, almost like basketball, where you just show up at the gym and then just say, who's got next? All right, let me put this team together. And then you say, you've got next. That's the same kind of thing that it works in pickleball. because it's 4 playing, and they all just decided, well, if there's people waiting, we're only going to play a game till 7 to 7 points. And then we'll let other people play. And then that type of idea is just nice. I mean, that doesn't necessarily happen on basketball courts. They'll play basketball like, oh, it's to 11. And you just sit and wait for an hour if you have to wait. That's just how it is. But it's nice. So I enjoyed that. And I look forward to being on whatever the next ship is. That I will play some basketball if it's available. But I won't hesitate to play pickleball, because it's a good workout. I've said this before. Short, reflexive bursts of energy is what you need. And it's a decent enough workout to where you will sweat. And if you have not done anything in a while, you'll be sore. So it's good enough. I like it. Other thing that took place on the ship was the Super Bowl while I was out. And that was enjoyable. Rams won. You know, I live in LA, grew up as a Rams fan initially before moving out to San Diego. So good for the Rams that they won. It was a good competitive Super Bowl. I enjoyed the halftime show. Here's the thing. I watched the first half of the game in my cabin. Then I wanted to see on the big screen the halftime show. So I figure I'll go up to the pool because they're showing it on a big giant movie screen at the pool on the ship. And I also figured, once again, by looking at the people on the ship, that, well, they're not going to be interested in the halftime show. So all those seats that they occupied while watching the game, they're going to be vacating for the halftime show. And I was correct. Oh, my goodness, they left in droves because that wasn't for them. But I thoroughly enjoyed the Super Bowl halftime show. The one drawback, this has nothing to do with the halftime show. I'll get back to it in just a second. The one drawback on being on the ship and watching the Super Bowl is that they apparently don't have the rights to the commercials to show out there. So I got to see no commercials. Here was the bad thing about that. The kid, the actor kid, Sydney, was in a Super Bowl commercial. So I didn't get to see that. So that was a little disappointing. I heard from my sister, one of my sisters at first, who texted me and said, "Did you just see Sydney?" And I'm like, "No, I'm on the ship. I'm in the middle of the ocean. I didn't see anything." So she saw it and then told me, and then I kind of spread the word out. Then a friend of mine also had seen it and eventually got me the commercial so I could see the commercial. And then I actually got to see it while I was on the plane flying back. So the commercial is a YouTube TV where people are just being interviewed by the announcer. And at the very end, there is a lady. I'll give her props as being a lady, even though she's a kid to me, where she says rejecting is the best part of being able to have cable. Reject. And that's Sydney. That's the kid. So I was very happy and very proud to see her because she does good work. She's a good kid, got her life together, doing stuff, pursuing her dream. So I'm always there with the pom-poms, rooting for any time Sydney does anything. So that's cool. Well, I root for all my kids to do stuff, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. So Sydney was in the Super Bowl commercial. Now back to the halftime show, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. I got a little emotional, I'll be honest with you. I don't even know why. It was just nice to see. And I know people didn't like it. It was the funniest thing to hear their reasons for not liking it. Oh, I don't know. I saw people comment, I wouldn't want my grandchildren watching that all. What? They didn't use any profanity. Nobody said anything. There was just people dancing like anyone else dances. It's always funny to me how people will step around everything except for saying what it is they want to say, which is it was too black for them. Just say that. Say that the hip hop and the rap was too black for them, including the fact that Eminem was out there, who's not black. But just say it was too black for you. The idea of you saying, I didn't want my grandchildren, your grandchildren have already seen this. Your grandchildren not only have seen this, they have done much worse than what that Super Bowl halftime show was. They see it, they hear it, they talk about it. It's much worse. So this wholesome, I wouldn't want okay, we get it. It's too black for you. It's too ethnic for you. Just say that. Quit hemming and hawing around the bullshit and just be honest. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's too black. All right, we get it. Just say what you saw at the Super Bowl halftime show was too black. I like other people that said it. I don't know if that's my generation. Your generation. Snoop is 50, in his 50s. Dr. Dre is 56. Mary J. Blige is in her 50s. What generation was this? There ain't many generations that are left on top of that. The baby boomers, okay? You know what's after that? Dead. That's what's after that. So tell me, if you're in your 50s or even in your 60s and you're saying that's not for you, that's not your generation, again, translation, too black. That's what it means, too black, because that is your generation. That is your age group. Like I said, the only ones above that are the people who are in their 70s and 80s. Those are your kids. Your kids are in their 50s, mid 50s. So don't act like you didn't know about this because you watched them growing up. So don't say that you didn't know. You did know. Say what it is you really want to say. Stop with your nonsense. So that was the end of the trip. I got some time off. I'll be back on a ship on March 12th. I will join Holland. Even just saying that makes me happy to know that I'll be returning to the home line of Holland, America. So that'll be in March where I'll join a ship in Curacao. That'll be kind of cool. Go out there a day early, hang out, catch a ship, be on that for 10 days, come back home. So that'll be nice. It'll be very, very nice. Now, here's another thing was part of the travel thing. I'm looking at my list as it is. That was a pen click as I'm going down the list. I like what is going to take place. We've got masks coming off on the ship. They're not going to be required anymore. So by the time I get on the ship, the mask will not be a requirement for everyone to wear. It'll be a suggestion, which you already know my fired up stuff about the CDC and this whole pandemic thing is that this is where we should be at this point in time. It just took us a little longer than we need to be. But I most of the time I spent the time in my room mainly because of the mask. I would go in my room because I can take a mask off in my room, and also I can go work out and play pickleball, and I'm not going to wear a mask there because I'm outdoors. So those are the only two things I would do. I would go see the shows, but I go right at the time the show starts and then immediately go back to my room. So other than that, that was it. And that's mainly because of the inconvenience of the masks. And I know everyone's annoyed by them, but I'm traveling around as Black Superman. I'm wearing the mask for you. I'm not wearing it for me because I'm Black Superman. But the other thing is that for the first time ever, I have a steamer I travel with for my clothing. Now, I know for passengers, you're not allowed steamers on board. Not allowed anything with a heating element, curling iron, hair dryer, an iron, steamer, anything like that, because you may forget and cause a fire. And a fire is the biggest problem, the biggest scare on a cruise ship. That is their big enemy, is fire. So you don't want to have anything on there. Is that? I get that. I find I whatever the category that I fall under, or maybe it is the type of steamer that I have, that I've been able to carry it on every single ship with absolutely no problem whatsoever, except for this one, except for Princess. So going through security, they wanted my steamer. Then I told them I work on the ship. I'm a guest entertainer. And they go, okay, well then in that case, we'll just return it to you once you get on the ship. I'm like, fine. So I go to security after I'm on the ship and they show it to me and then still don't give it to me. So that was another in the long list of things that you got to go through to deal with this particular line that was annoying. So now I'm busy thinking, great, I have no way, because the only thing I need a steamer for, one thing only, and that is to de-wrinkle my clothing for the show prior to wearing it. That's it. I've packed my dress shirts, and I need them to not be wrinkled when I step on stage in front of people as an entertainer for the particular cruise line. That's the only thing I need it for. Not using it for anything else. I will use it for a matter of minutes, and then it never gets used again. So they took it, and I thought, okay, well, then I'll figure it out, I guess. But I was told it was going to be in a particular area once I got back off the ship. So I made the best as to what I could. You put your shirt in the shower area and you just run the hot water and then hope the wrinkles steam out that way. And then if I put a jacket on prior to it, then that'll also, the heat from my body will help de-wrinkle the shirt, or, at least get it not as wrinkled by the time I get up on stage to take off my jacket. So that's what I did. I tried that. It worked. Nobody said anything, so I was all right with it. But then as I'm getting off the ship and I go to get my steamer returned, of course it's not there. Of course it's not there. I got to sit and wait for another 15 minutes for them to find it on the ship and then realize that, we'll take it and walk it down to him and give it to him. So we do that. But the reason I bring this up was not for that, really. I mean, it helps me get it out there. But was all the passengers who come on go through a screening process. And there are some passengers that have things that are confiscated from them, things that are not allowed on the ship, which includes those items that I just mentioned. But they've got the sheet right there, and I can see the sheet, CIA operative. I can see the sheet of what passengers have had confiscated and what they're there and they have returned to them. There was a steamer on there. There were 2 irons on there. 2 separate passengers had irons that they brought with them, which I don't even understand that for weight category. Like, you put an iron into your bag, 50 pounds is the weight limit when you're flying in. So an iron's pretty heavy. Like, you're using that iron to take up space that you could have put clothes. So that was bizarre to me, an iron. Steamers I get, because some of the steamers are tiny steamers. I don't, whatever it is what it is. But 3 of them were pocket knives. Now, when you first see that, you think, well, what are you trying to bring a knife on board the ship, a pocket knife on board the ship? And then I thought about it for a little while, because I even mentioned it to the girl that was at the security, and she thought the same thing at first. She said, yeah, what are they trying to do, bring a pocket knife? Then it dawned on me. People who cruise are older people. And I will tell you, as a person who has older people in my family, I remember as a kid, my great-grandfather always had a pocket knife on him. Always. Not that because it was a different time. Older people carry things that you don't think about. And a lot of older men carry pocket knives, not for protection, which is what it's just utility. Like, my grandfather had a pocket knife, not to protect him from any, no one was coming after my great-grandfather, but, an apple, you want to peel an apple? Bam, it's got a pocket knife there to peel the apple while he eats it. It's a good, relaxing time. You never know when you might want to whittle. Not that anyone is whittling, but that's what a pocket knife was used for. It was a utility more than what you think today. And that's how dangerous the world has gotten today, that when you think, a knife, you must need it for protection. Like, no, they just needed it to do things. Hey, look, that's a screw. I'm going to get my pocket knife out and tighten that screw up. So now when I thought about that does make sense, because old people carry pocket knives. Like I said, not to cause any trouble, but they just used it as a utility. I remember that was a gift one time. One time, I think either my grandfather or my parent gave me, the Swiss Army knife. Remember that thing? The little Swiss Army knife? You give them that and you go, oh, that's a good little tool. But as a kid, you don't think about it because you just have it and you're like, oh, I got a knife, and then you lose it. But yeah, older people carry pocket knives. It makes sense. Even thinking about it, I was like, oh my goodness, I want to eat an apple just to whip out that pocket knife and start peeling in that big circle, taking a bite, peel a little more, take another bite. Oh, healthy eating back then, right? Get a pocket knife, get an apple. Boom, done. All right. See what else is taking place in the notes here. It is Black History Month. You're all aware of that. And so there's a lot of stories that come out in the news that always have to be based on race or something like that. Just for this month, don't worry. And people that are upset by it, don't worry. You only got 6 more days to deal with it. It'll be over. Then we'll be back to how business as usual. You won't have to hear about it. All you people that are angry at critical race theory, the thing that doesn't exist, nor is being taught. Don't worry. You got 6 more days, and then you can go back on to your lives and not have to watch a Super Bowl halftime show that's too black. I did see somebody say that Tom Petty was the best Super Bowl halftime. Tom Petty? I don't even remember Tom Petty performing at the halftime show. I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just saying that's how unmemorable it was. And anybody that made that statement, that may be as close as you could say without saying this thing was too black for me. Because if you say, no, Tom Petty was the best, I'm like, you may be whiter than white. Tom Petty, if he were alive today, wouldn't even say that he was the best. But you keep banging that drum for Tom Petty. Prince has a legitimate argument. If people want to say, oh, the Prince thing, it's hard to talk. You got a legitimate argument. But Tom Petty? What the hell's wrong with you? Anyway, I saw a few stories that deal with race that are just crazy. There was a woman. She was, I forgot how old. You know what? Again, I didn't do my research. You know what? I am going to do the research. Watch me do the research and then come back. All right. So it is a 94-year-old woman. A 94-year-old black woman finally bought a wedding dress. And the way the story is that when she got married nearly 70 years ago, she could not shop in the Alabama. Somehow Alabama came up again. Bridal stores because of Jim Crow laws. So a black woman could not go into a bridal store back then. And so she couldn't have a wedding dress that she picked out. So she finally has picked out her wedding dress and always wanted to wear one because she said that she didn't even have one when she got married. So this is one of the stories that I look at, and whenever I hear people talk about, oh, slavery was so long ago, and what is everyone complaining about? What are black people complaining about? This is what we're complaining about. This was 1948, I believe, is when it was. No, 1952. I'm sorry. Unable to wear a wedding dress because she couldn't buy one, go in the store to be able to try one on to buy one in 1952. 1952. That wasn't that long ago. People try to think that all the things that took place, like the day after slaves were freed, then people just went, hey, sorry, that was just strictly business, and then everything just went back to everyone having an opportunity. You really believe that? I've said this many times about the idea of how racism is not going to go away because we have too many people that teach it to their children and pass it down and pass down the idea that these people are less than you. You are better than these people. These people do this, these people, and then that's never going to stop it. But the idea, the fact that this woman who's 94 years old today, that in 1952, she was unable to do things. This is what it is. This is why it is important. This is why it is important to point out these different ideas and stuff and to move things along, because that wasn't that long ago. Even if you were born, this woman wasn't born in 1952. She was 24 in 1952 or whatever it is that she was trying to get married. But now people are still complaining there's too much. We're giving them too much. We're giving the black people too much. Oh, are we? Or are we actually just trying to make everything even? We're trying to correct things that were really shitty and really shittily done not that long ago. 1952 was 13 years before I was born. People keep acting like it was so long ago. Really? Long time ago? Because there's no people alive from that era, right? That was 52, 13 years before I was born. I guess I'm not alive, right? I guess my parents aren't alive. 13 years is not even a parent. 13 years is like an older cousin or sibling or something, right? But people still want to hold on to that because they don't want to give up what is perceived equality. A friend of mine from the last podcast, because I had mentioned this in the last podcast, sent me a beautiful meme about a person sitting there, a white person sitting there with all their food, and another person across the table, minority, sitting there with one item of the food, and then a person across them that had none of it. And the white person says, hey, that person over there is trying to take your food. And meanwhile, they have an entire, this is what I'm talking about. This is the whole thing about it. So this nonsense about how this was so long ago, it wasn't so long ago. 1952, Jim Crow laws. The Civil Rights Act wasn't passed until 1964. Now that's less than a year before I was born. So I got nothing to say to those people. I can't even argue with them anymore. I just listen and then turn and leave, because you're not going to change their mind. They don't understand. They feel like they're losing something. Like I said, I don't want to rehash what I went over in the last podcast, but it's every week another story pops up about it. Every week, another story about what happens and how people are losing things. And you look at the commercials. Now, I remember I talked about this before, about how the commercials have gotten a little out of hand because you won't really find any more white couples in commercials. Every commercial is a black dude with a white woman or something of that effect. And so we've kind of done that with it, and I can get behind that idea, but the whole idea of the other stuff is absolute nonsense. Speaking of which, what else is the other thing that we just had take place was the 3 men in the Arbery case ended up being found guilty of hate crime, which I'm very curious as to see where people stand on that. Because I would love to hear the argument of the folks who were defending them that would say, no, it's not a hate crime. Like, they loaded up guns and hunted down a black man. In essence, that's what they did. A black man that they said, he don't belong in this area. He don't belong here. Okay. Why? Because he's black? And he was jogging. And you killed a 25-year-old black man because you thought he didn't belong in your area, mainly because he was black. That's kind of definition of a hate crime. And then apparently there were some texts where they used racial slurs in the text. So, yeah. I mean, it is, there's the thing about being a human. If you thought more like a human and person on the whole thing, first of all, that would have never happened. But this is where I think, as a human being, it is sad all the way around. Now, I don't want any leniency for those men, because I believe you need to pay for your crimes and you need to be an example as well. But Ahmaud Arbery's not coming back. And I think one of those gentlemen, well, one of them was the father of the son, so at least he gets the opportunity. as weird as it is, he gets the opportunity to see his son on a regular basis. But I think the son also has a kid or a son, and that dude's never going to get to see that son again. I guess there'd be visiting hours. I guess you'd be a chance to see it then. But other than that, that's it. That son will only see you in prison on visiting days. And all you had to do was stay at home. That's all you had to do. Stay at home. Let the police take care of this. You didn't need the vigilante, and it's not even vigilante because it's not like something was done to them. So this is just arrogance and just, we got to keep them people out of our neighborhood. That's what it was. And therefore, yeah, that's a hate crime. That's how it works. But I am very curious as to see the people that would defend them and what they're going to say and how they minimalize it. You know, like my friend that said that it wasn't an insurrection because they didn't specifically bring automatic weapons. Like, all right, I'm curious. It is interesting because there's a point where you go, do you hear yourself? Do you hear what it is you're saying? Because I'm hearing it and it sounds uncomfortable to me to hear it. I don't know how it's not uncomfortable for you to think it, then say it and hear it. Like you're doing 3 different things. All I'm doing is hearing it. But it'll be interesting because I'm sure that will come out later on today. But we will keep pushing forward. I mean, we're just going to keep pushing forward as a society. And we'll just go right past you. All the people that want to defend how white people are losing things. In general, we'll just keep pushing past and see where we go at the end of this thing. You know, and what else can you do? You just push forward. You move all those people that want to defend to the side. Just be noise. I was going to say white noise, but that would have been too punny. And then I said it anyway. Is what I did. All right. Let's start winding down, shall we? It's a super big episode on 2/2/22, episode 22. This was annoying to me, and it's my fault, okay? I will start by saying it's my fault. So I had a charge come through on my credit or my debit card of nearly $72. And what it was that I'm with T-Mobile. And on Tuesdays, like today, T-Mobile gives out different offers for T-Mobile subscribers. One of the offers 6 months ago was a trial subscription to The Athletic, which is a sports, I would say magazine, but it's not, not a physical magazine, but a sports online magazine full of content about sports, obviously. That couldn't be more redundant, for crying out loud. And I forgot about it. And matter of fact, I forgot the fact that it was a trial offer. And so I got hit with the year charge of that the trial ended, and then got hit with a year subscription thing. And this is another one of my pet peeves. And again, like I said, it's my fault, because if I could give any advice, and I need to take my own advice more often, more regularly, it's that as soon as you sign up for a trial offer, immediately cancel that trial offer. So sign up, go out, and then go back in and cancel, because otherwise you'll forget. And this is what I did. I forgot. And that's what they bank on. They bank on you forgetting, so that when the time comes up, it's not like they're going to give you a reminder. It's not like they're going to tell you, hey, by the way, we're going to remind you to not pay us money. They're not going to remind you. And then it just comes up and boom, you get hit with a charge. So that's an annoying practice. And if they want to start legislating anything, maybe that, remember a few years ago when there was a weird, because it's on the law, it's on the books as a law, that the commercials can't be louder than the television programming. And then they don't even care about that. Like, that's an actual law, but none of the companies adhere to it, because the amount of time and effort that it would take for you as the consumer to enforce this law and to be able to have to record it and then prove it, so they don't care. So that was like a pointless law. This is a law that really does need to be, in fact, is that they need to be required to give you a notice as to when the trial is up. And there should be a series of like a week out, 3 days out, day before. Then they can say, hey, we gave you these 3 notices and didn't. But that's what needs to be done. But anyway, that's just one of my little pet peeves. As we wind down here, I found out that the Olympics ended. I got off the ship and I got back and I was like, oh, let me see the Olympics. Oh, closing ceremonies. Okay, so I missed it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people missed it. I saw a story today that the headline was, see, that was weird how I said that. I said I saw a story and then the headline. I only saw the headline. Okay, I'll be honest. I only saw the headline. The headline was that this is the lowest Winter Olympics ever as far as being viewed. And I didn't even know when they started and obviously didn't know when they ended. I'm curious about any of you out there. Did you watch any of the Winter Olympics? Like, I like watching the Olympics. I like watching anything where the people are competing. Heck, I'm into pickleball. But I didn't know when they were starting. And not only did I not know when they were starting, I obviously didn't know that they were ending. And I don't recall seeing a single event. I mean, I was paying attention when the U.S. male figure skater won, Nathan Chen, when he won, but you didn't get to see it live. You just got the news that he won. And then the fact that, when you realize that there's not an audience there, that kind of takes it down, that you don't really want to watch. The idea that it's in Beijing, that don't help either, with all the news about them and the human rights violations and stuff. Also, they got the Winter Olympics and they don't get snow. Like other places could have gotten that, but they don't get snow. So I think people may be soured on the whole combination of the Olympics. That and the fact that the pandemic and all that going on, and the idea that it would require you sitting down and watching television when we had been sitting down for close to 2 years, only able to watch television. People were watching television during the front end of the pandemic, and that's all they could do. So this doesn't help that, oh, well, it's on TV. Well, people are like, you know what, I'll just give it the highlights. No one can tell when the times are. I don't know when it is on. Like, I don't know what time it is right now in Beijing, China. I'm not doing math. I'm American. I'm not doing any mathematics. So that probably has a lot to do with the fact that it was down. But it's a shame because, those athletes, they work hard. I've been to the Olympic training facility in Colorado Springs. I've been there a handful of times, and it is very impressive, the layout that they have for the, American Olympic athletes. And it is a job. It is impressive to be able to see what these men and women put their bodies through to be able to achieve, this goal that they have of winning a gold medal for the country. And it is impressive. I've said this before. Athletes, professional athletes, I'm going to say Olympics or like anyone that, I'm not talking to people that are athletic. I'm talking about real top-notch, world-class athletes. I said this before. They don't look like you and I. They don't even look human. And to be able to see them be able to put that on display would be nice. So I don't know how I missed all the Olympics other than being on a ship. But shout out to them, all the Olympians. It is weird what took place. I think the Russian athlete had tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug, yet still kept their medal. I don't know. These are just little snippets that I'm getting and putting together. I should pay attention. I've got The Athletic for a year, $70-something. I should just read it and figure out what's going on. Maybe I will. Maybe now I will, that I've spent that money. I did get to see the NBA All-Star Game, and you guys know I'm all about the basketball. Oh, that was delightful because they had the 75th anniversary of the NBA and the 75 top 75 players of all times, and most of them were there in person which was very, very cool to see that camaraderie of people that you watched and to see what it meant to some of the new players, the younger players, to be in the midst of that is crazy, especially for a sport that I love, a game that I love, that I've known since I was a kid and paid attention. It was a great, great moment. I will say I do have a little bit of a problem with a couple of the picks in the top 75 because I believe that Adrian Dantley belongs in there. If you guys know who Adrian Dantley is, I believe Adrian Dantley belongs in the top 75, and I believe that Dwight Howard belongs in the top 75. And I'm not a big Dwight Howard fan, but I believe that his resume stands as it is. I know he's been an idiot for a handful of years since he kind of got out of Orlando, but still, prior to that, he had a pretty good career. And, he's still in the league playing, coming off the bench and stuff like that, but still, it was impressive. Dwight Howard at one point in time for at least 4 years in the NBA was considered to be one of the, if not the best player or the top two players. He was always in that conversation. So shout out to the NBA. That was very cool to see. I won't say who I think should have been taken off the list to make spaces for those two. I will just say that those two, in my opinion, belong on the list. Here was, now I'll go backwards real quick for that Super Bowl halftime show, only because this happens to be in the, I'm on the category of sports, is what I enjoyed about the halftime show afterwards was people were talking about how it was the Generation X. It was the Generation X halftime show, which I have recently found out that I'm a part of, because I know for a fact for many, many years at the inception of Generation X, I was not a part of that generation. I used to joke about it. Used to talk about it all the time, say that I was not part of it because the generation cutoff was 1964, was baby boomers, and then they would put the label for Generation X after that at 1973. So from 65 to 73, no belonger, no identifier, wasn't part of it. But now, recently, been moved into the early cusp of Generation X. So that, kudos to me for getting into Generation X. They made an adjustment, and now they've put baby boomers 64, 65 is the beginning of Generation X. So shout out to us that we made it, being a part of an identifier. We had no group, and now we have a group. Now we know who's our group, and now we can pick other groups to hate. Because that's the beauty of being in a group. So here's the news on Olivia. I'm going to have an Encanto intervention. That's what's going to happen. There'll be an Encanto intervention. Now, I've not seen this Disney movie, this Encanto, but Olivia can't stop seeing it, apparently, because there is an ongoing show of Encanto in this household that is unparalleled. All the songs are being sung at top volume, and it is all about the Encanto. She's about that Encanto life, son. That is what it is. Like I said, I've not seen this movie, but I know all about it. You know what I know? I know we don't talk about Bruno. I don't know who Bruno is, but I know that you don't talk about him like Fight Club. I think that's the number one rule of Encanto, is we don't talk about Bruno. And I'll look forward to seeing who Bruno is. But yeah, Encanto fever has hit this household with a vengeance. That's what it is. That's the word I was looking for. Encanto fever has hit this household with a vengeance. So today was the first day to be able to walk Olivia back to school. And of course that didn't happen because there was dilly-dallying. And whenever there's dilly-dallying, now you've put it at the point where you can't get to school within the walk. And if you're late on the walk, then you got to go to the office to say that you're late. So it was a drive. It was a drive 2 blocks to get to the school to drop her off. So I'm not happy about that. But tomorrow it'll be back to walking. And then, of course, I'll walk to pick her up. So that is your Olivia news. You got a couple of pieces of news. You got Sydney news. You got Olivia news. You got half of the crazy kids news. That's what it was. Noah just walked by. I guess that's his update. That's all. Not much to say. He walked by. It's morning time, so I guess that's a rare sight to be able to see that Noah walked by. You know what? Talk about rare sight. I thought this was going to be the end, but anyone aware of the fact that there are monkeys in Florida? Like wild monkeys, like in the wild monkeys in Florida. I knew nothing about this at all. I was talking to some passengers on the ship, and he was a gentleman and his wife, and he was talking about how when he has to get off the ship and go back to his car, that he's like, oh, those monkeys will be there. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And he goes, oh, where'd you park? And I'm like, well, I don't park. They fly me in and then drive me here to the ship. And he goes, oh, well, there's monkeys. There's like hundreds of them out there by the airport. And I didn't know this. And his wife said, yeah, I thought he was kidding too until I looked outside and saw, yeah, there are hundreds of monkeys just out there in the wild by the Florida airport. I don't know how this has been kept a secret for so long, but I looked it up and it said decades-long rumors confirmed. Yeah, that there have been monkeys, a colony of monkeys living in the marshes outside the Fort Lauderdale airport in Florida, and that there are 3 species of monkeys in Florida that just kind of walk around, just like, you know, this is what Florida's done. They've got their own thing going on here because people get the pets and then they just turn them loose. I think Florida's trying to kill us, is what it is. I think the state of Florida is trying to kill us with all their craziness. And now they've got monkeys. And it's not even and now. They've had monkeys. It's just that the word's starting to get out that there are monkeys in Florida. So apparently what happened is that there were some research monkeys from 1948 that got loose in a lab, and they just went, we'll let them be. And now they have thrived, as everything does in Florida, except for intelligence. Oh, look at that. I got to dig in, huh? But yeah, they're thriving there. And so there are monkeys in Florida. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. When I heard this and read the story, it made me give pause and credence to the possibility of Bigfoot. Because the idea behind Bigfoot is that, well, how could they stay hidden from people for so long? Because there's people everywhere. But then I just found out in February of 2022 that there have been monkeys in Florida since 1948. Well, there's a lot of people in Florida. There's a lot of people around, and this is not common knowledge. So it gives a little bit more credibility that maybe Bigfoot could stay hidden. That's all I'm saying. All right. Now that is it of all the topics that I've had on there. Let me tell you what's going to happen with the show. I will do one more regular episode in a couple of days on Friday and have that released on Friday. And that will take me to the end of Black History Month is what it will take me to. That's how I'll mark down the marker. This is episode 22, as I've said many times, 2022. I had to break into a very deliberate James T. Kirk on that. But episode 22, and by the way, 22 episodes is a season. A lot of times it is. It's a full season of television shows. And so I'm going to give you one more bonus episode on the season, and then I'm going to take a little break. Not a long break, but then I will just put out clips best of the 22 episodes, well, 23 episodes that I will have at my disposal. And that'll run for a little bit. Maybe, I don't know how long the break will be. It won't be that long, but, long enough for me to get revitalized and fired up about it to go into season 2. I don't even know if that's how podcasts work. I'm pretty sure they don't. I think they just keep going week after week after week. But you know what? I'm a revolutionary. I'm going to change the game. I'm going to make it a season. So a season will be 23 episodes. Then you'll be hearing best of for a little bit of time. And then I'll come back and fire up season 2. We good with that? I think you'll have to be, because it's my show. So, other news is I put together a Facebook page for Sometimes the Old Man is Right. So take a look for that. Like it. I'll throw the clips up on that as well. I will be throwing up stuff onto the Facebook page. So swing on by there, like the page. You'll see stuff come up there. And then I'll try to work on the social media footprint of Sometimes the Old Man is Right. All things Lamont Ferguson can be found at lamontferguson.com. I've got dates up there. I'll be in Calgary coming up in April. I will be in Utah coming up in June. So I'm not just staying on the ships, people. I've got ship work. I've got ground work. I'll try for some space work. If there's space work, I guess that would be Zoom shows. Okay, maybe not those. But I'm trying to get out there, see what's going on, see what you're doing. So you can find all that at lamontferguson.com. Like I said, you got the Facebook page of Sometimes the Old Man is Right for the podcast. I think that just about covers it. Oh, you can email. Oh, I will have such a celebration. I will have a celebration when I receive the first email at oldmanisright@gmail.com. If you have any comments or questions, throw them up there. That's also the idea of the Facebook page. If you have any comments or questions, you can put that over there as well. But, what a celebration we'll have when I finally get the first email at oldmanisright@gmail.com. I appreciate you, folks. Episode 22, 222. That's a lot of twos. I don't even think I said it right. Let's try it again. Episode 22, 2022. There. Now it's right. I do appreciate you. I thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great week, even though it won't be a week until I talk to you. It'll just be a few days is what it'll be. But enjoy your front half of the week. Enjoy the remainder of your week. Do that. I talked about a lot here, folks. There was a lot, a slew, if you will. Some of it could have been crazy nonsense. That's what happens. Sometimes it's way off base. But you know the drill. Sometimes the old man is right. I'll see you on Friday.